Yes, ladies and gentlemen, do you know you cannot separate the Rastafari community from Jamaica? If you are going to big up Jamaican people, the Rastafari community, no matter how you might feel, no matter how you might want to feel about them, the Rastafari community must be included. The Rastafari community is part and parcel of the Jamaican people, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, but anyway, before I move on with my discussion, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to my channel. Definitely, I do not take this for granted. Out of all the videos, you have selected mine. This is not a small thing, and this is not something that I will definitely take for granted. Like Musa Mupenda Jaba. Do you know there is a person whose name, his name is called Musa Mupenda Jaba? That person used to take things for granted until the things that he took for granted, they were no longer there. That man was forced to return back to Moshada. But either way, that is not my point, ladies and gentlemen. Now there is this one Brit man. He has said so much, he has said so many positive things about the Jamaican people.
Let's talk about Jamaica. Yeah. Your father's Jamaican, so tell us about Jamaica.
Well, probably beyond, and I say this with total bias, but I think people can recognize what I'm saying, beyond any other place of comparable size, has also culturally influenced the entire planet. Not just through reggae music and through sports, but through, even if we go earlier, through Marcus Garvey, who unified more people of African origin than any other movement before or since, who influenced every subsequent movement in Africa, independence movement, from the Mau Mau in Kenya.
Yes, allow me to just stop him right there. Of course, I'm going to play the whole clip, do not worry. He has talked something that is very important. He has talked about Marcus Garvey and UNIA. UNIA was formed in 1916, Universal Negro International Association and African Community League. This UNIA itself also influenced other small or major groups. This UNIA itself also went further to even influence Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, you see how Jamaicans have been influential. Jamaicans have been influential for more than 100 years. From those times of Marcus Garvey, and in today's world, Jamaica is still influencing the whole world. Jamaica is still conquering the whole world without even having a single military base in either of the countries that they are influencing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what I call, or that is what I consider divine protection. That is what I consider divine blessing. Jamaica is the Canaan. I say Jamaica is the Canaan every time that we have been looking for. Jamaica is the land of wood and water. Jamaica is the land of opportunities. Jamaica is the land of divine blessings. Ladies and gentlemen, now watch this video further on, and then I am coming once again to react after this.
To even the flag of Ghana is Garvey's symbol. That black star is Garvey's black star, the flag of Malawi, etc. So this is a man who leapt beyond the island of Jamaica and had this massive influence, and is a product of Jamaica's particularly brutal, but its particular history. St. Lucia has the highest amount of Nobel Prize winners per capita of any country in the world. Now, I'm not saying a Nobel Prize is a culturally universal way of measuring intelligence. What I am saying is the Caribbean, even given all of these constrictions, if you like, and these limitations, has massively punched above its weight without colonizing other people. See, Britain, we talk about punching above our weight, and for sure Britain has had a massive influence on the world, but much of that influence has come at the expense of military might, at the expense of colonizing and brutalizing other groups of people. That doesn't mean that Isaac Newton or Shakespeare or these guys were any less intelligent, but it also means that it's kind of tainted because the cultural influence is mixed with brutality, right? Jamaica's cultural influence is just cultural influence. Jamaica doesn't have a military base in any of the countries where reggae music is popular. And reggae music has spread in spite of not having the billions of dollars that are spent on popular forms of American music. Precisely because it's revolutionary, anti-imperialist, love-centered music, which is ironic because Jamaica is promoted to the world as the most, or at least Jamaican culture and Jamaican music culture is sort of seen in these kind of stereotypical terms, but it's the love and the peace and almost kind of Buddhist-ish philosophy within Rasta that directs reggae music, that gives Jamaica this cultural power. So I feel that that's legitimately, people can be proud of that, whilst recognizing the sometimes horrific ongoings. If you stay in Negril or Montego Bay and you stay within the little kind of tourist resort, Jamaica is dangerous, I'm not going to lie. You know, there is violence and there are problems there, but tourists are certainly safer in the country than the locals anyway, right? It's very unlikely and very slim chance of something happening to a person that's perceived to be a foreigner. You might get problems, but generally foreigners don't get killed because the people in the ghetto understand that when that happens, usually the government and the army comes and flattens the neighborhood, right? So there is a certain amount of safety even within it, and I've been all over Kingston. I've been to parties and raves and things in dangerous parts of Kingston, blah blah blah. You know, I'm not telling anyone else what to do. I'm just saying, for me, you get a much fuller experience if you actually interact with the culture. And you don't even have to go to Kingston. You could go to somewhere like St. Elizabeth, which is very quiet, very sunny, very idyllic part of the island. But again, interacting with local people gives you a much fuller sense of what Jamaicanness is, what is specific about that island, what it has produced, why reggae music came from there and not somewhere else. Why Bob Marley Bob Marley, Usain Bolt and Marcus Garvey are all from the same village.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, I like the way this guy has put it. When he talk about crime, definitely there is crime. There is crime in the US, there is crime in UK, there is crime even here in my own country. Okay, so Jamaica is not exceptional. Okay, the only thing that is wrong is magnifying the issue, is putting it as an issue in Jamaica, is putting it as the only story that someone can talk about in Jamaica. You know, that's wrong. You know, that's propagating Jamaica in a very wrong way. You know, that is positioning Jamaica in a very negative way. When you want to talk about Jamaica, you know, to speak about facts, speak about the good things. If you're talking about crime, look at how many, look at the statistically, look at the number of people that visit Jamaica annually or per year. At least they receive 1 million visitors, predominantly from the United States of America. Okay, and from the way the Britman has said, Akala, is that there are slim chances that a tourist is more likely to be attacked in Jamaica. And if there is any violence that is going on in Jamaica, it is usually between two gang groups. Okay, unfortunately, maybe a tourist might be caught in between the crossfire. But at the same time, it's the same things that also happens in the United States of America. You want to tell me that there is no gang groups in the United States of America? You want to tell me that there is no gang groups in the United Kingdom? There is also gang groups here in my own country, Kenya. Okay, sometimes you can be in the wrong time, you can be at the wrong time, you can be at the wrong place at the wrong time. But at the same time, there has been very few reported cases of tourists getting harmed while in Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, these people, they are very smart. They are very, very smart. You might walk and cross over a gangster without you knowing, because maybe he will treat you, very nicely. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that is what will happen. I'm just trying to elaborate what this guy has said. I have seen videos of total strangers visiting Jamaica, getting so much, friendly attitude from Jamaican people. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a nice thing. Nobody wants to visit countries that do not like other people visiting. They look at you like you are an alien. Like, who told you to come in our country? Can you move your big head out of this country? Nobody wants to go into certain areas, ladies and gentlemen. Just recently, I saw another clip. Statistically, Jamaicans are the most friendliest people, who are more likely to assist strangers than any other person. Ladies and gentlemen, if that is not a beautiful thing, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the Britman is raising very important points, and he's talking about tourism. Jamaica receives at least 1 million tourists per annum or per year. Yes, predominantly from the United States of America. But now he's asking these questions. Now you're saying that Jamaica has a very high crime rate and Jamaica is very dangerous. How comes that per year they receive at least 1 million? Tell me about those numbers. Can you try and weigh in those numbers and tell me? Make it more sense. Make it sense. You're saying that Jamaica has a very high crime areas You're saying that Jamaica has very high crime areas, but look at the number of tourists that come and visit Jamaica, ladies and gentlemen. You see, statistically, it is discrediting. The statistics is discrediting your opinion against Jamaican people. They keep receiving tourists. Just recently, they have even got award as the most friendliest people around the world. People that are more likely to help and assist strangers. But you decide to ignore all those amazing facts and you say, Jamaicans they have a very high crime area, they have a very high crime rate. But again, statistics keeps nullifying your opinions against this beautiful island, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. It's an amazing place with amazing people. Jamaica are more likely to assist strangers than any other people. I have seen situations where, actually I have said this story more than 5 times. A Kenyan who went to the airport got stuck. Ladies and gentlemen, some people may not understand the gravity of Jamaican influence until I put it this way. Look at the countries that have influenced the rest of the world. Look at even the countries that have even influenced Africa. Definitely they have colonized Africa. They have their own military base in Africa. Look at the countries that have colonized even the rest of the world. They went and set out their own military base. They went and colonized. They had to colonize those areas first to control and manipulate them, ladies and gentlemen. But look at for Jamaicans. Look at Jamaicans. Jamaicans did not colonize anyone. Jamaicans do not have any military base in any countries, but their influence is running far and wide. How many people are talking about reggae as we speak? How many people around the world are singing about reggae, ladies and gentlemen? Look at the Rastafarian culture. Rastafarian culture is one of those few cultures that was inbred. I keep talking about this because it is the truth. It's one of those few cultures that was inbred by a black man. And at the same time, it has influenced even people who are outside the black culture. We have seen white people who are the Rastafarian. We have seen even Chinese, Japanese who are the Rastafarian. Okay? You see, Jamaicans did not colonize. They didn't have to go and colonize everybody. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These guys have a divine blessing. And I consider Jamaica as a canon. It is canon. It's our very own canon here on earth, ladies and gentlemen. If this is not an amazing thing, I don't know what it is. Because look at it, the statistics do not lie. Statistics do not lie. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rastafari culture. The Rastafari culture. If there is one culture that I really and truly respect, is the Rastafari culture, because their practice and how they do things is almost similar to the African culture. For instance, the Rastafari believe a woman should be a woman, a man should be a man. There is no in between. A woman should be a woman, a man should be a man. That is the Rastafari culture. That's one thing that makes me really love the Rastafari people. It's how they respect nature. They respect the law of nature. Yes, that's the best way to put it. The Rastafari people respect the law of nature. They do not try to change the way God has ordained things. A man should be a man and a woman should be a woman. That's the Rastafari culture. That's one of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen in my entire life. Okay, even how they name their musical instrument, even how they name themselves, they use the African names. Nyambingi, the fall of Babylon, is a Kenya-Rwanda name taken or coiled from the East African people. Look at the names of the Rastafari people. Majority of them have been named after the African names. And I want to say big up to, rest in peace, Joseph Hill. He has a son, his name is called Kenyatta. Yeah, Kenyatta was the first president of Kenya. Look at Black Uhuru. Look at Burning Spear. You know, all these guys, they have African names. They are Jamaicans, ladies and gentlemen. Another most important thing and beautiful thing about the African, the Rastafari culture is how it has influenced even groups of people that are outside the black man's culture. Ladies and gentlemen, we have seen Japanese people getting influenced by the Rastafari culture. We have seen even the other groups of people, the Spanish, talk about it. We have seen even the white people who are also the Rastafari culture. They speak about peace, unity. The I and I culture among the Rastafari people is so much, practiced. Your problems are my problems. Your worries are my worries. Your wins are my wins. Helping your brother when they are in need, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that is that's morality. That's what I call morality.
Greetings and salutations of peace. You're now in tune on the One, the Force itself at this time. We call it the Holy Master Blesser Jamming. Note that all divine undertakings include knowing the way of the stars. I am Etol Iman. Judgment in a yard. The inclusion ritual that went wrong. To reveal the power of music, it brought wrath on the island, blessed for many years by the Rastafari spirit. It was dubbed Sizzler and Friends Rise to the Occasion. The occasion was very subtle. It was a sign to include the LBGT community into the Rastafari and reggae vibration, which reggae is the vehicle for the Rastafari message. The reggae music is the ark of the agreement, as Sizzler supposed a representative, so Sizzler supposed to be a representative of the Rastafari community as a reggae artist. The Sizzler and Friends Rise to the Occasion concert in Jamaica was held on Sunday, October 19, 2025 at 4 p.m. This event, titled Rise to the Occasion, celebrating 30 years of Sizzler Kalonji, honored the legendary artist's 3-decade contribution to reggae music and Rastafari culture. It took place at Sabina Park in Kingston, a historic cricket ground transformed for the occasion into a hub for reggae and dancehall music. The concert featured live performances, special guest appearances, and tributes from a diverse lineup of artists, including Romain Virgo, Bounty Killer, I Wayne, Fontan Moja, Jesse Royal, Etna, Chris Martin, Turbulence, Spragga Benz, Beanie Man, and Nadine Sutherland, all paying homage to Sizzler's influence. The event was described as a full circle moment in Jamaica music history, celebrating Sizzler's enduring catalog and the global reach of his message. The celebration was planned by a mix of family and friends, says the media, and cultural enthusiasts, aiming to provide a festival-style experience with an artisan village and food court. What was not figured in this demonic scheme was the influence of heavenly factors. I guess I should say in this subtle scheme was the influence of heavenly factors, not knowing that sacred rites are always carried out under heavenly movements. Evil is oftentimes ignorance, not knowing itself to be so. For it is written in a place for us to see, Satan plans a plan, also Allah plans a plan, for Allah is the best of planners, as Rastafari say, Jah is the best of planners. At the time of the Rise to the Occasion concert, occult, hidden, i.e., and esoterically known, this concert was known as the Inclusion Concert. And we know what inclusion is, and we realize that the LBGT community has a very subtle vibration. So the word inclusion gives the scheme away. At unawares to the ignorant, as of Sunday, October 19, 2025, Comet 3I Atlas was located in the constellation of Virgo, approaching its closest point to the sun, that is perihelion. Now, there are a lot of ignorant people out there, and they're not going to get to this, but if you understand the ancient ways that as it is in the heavens, so is it here on earth below, and all great undertakings. Let's look at the pyramids. Let's just come on down to earth and look at Washington, D.C. That happened at a certain time when certain planets was at a certain place. So here's a group of people having an inclusion concert, acting as if though they didn't know what they were doing. If they didn't, they were most definitely guided by Satan. So this inclusion concert, the people that pulled it off was not aware as of Sunday, October 19th, when the concert was taking place, 2025. Comet 3I Atlas was located in the constellation of Virgo, same constellation that the Washington, D.C. is based upon. It was approaching its closest point to the sun, and as of today, 10/29/2025, that's where it's at. Comet 3I Atlas was located in the constellation of Virgo, approaching its closest point in the sun, perihelion, on October 29, 2025. It was positioned behind the sun from Earth's perspective, making it unobservable. So there are subtle vibrations that are not realized by people that's not initiated in the occult. So it is unobservable from the earth's skies, that is, at that time. So Hurricane Melissa was still forming as a tropical cyclone over the southern Caribbean Sea on October 21, 2025. Therefore, on October 19, 2025, it had not yet officially formed when the concert was happening. It wasn't formed at that time, which is a very special note. Therefore, on October 19, when Sizzler and his people were doing their thing, the Hurricane Melissa had not yet officially formed or been named. Now, note, 9 days later, like a baby being born, it rose up under the power of 3I Atlas to send a great sign to the Rastafari communities of their current slackness and remind them of their original sense of purpose. Melissa was the strongest storm to hit Jamaica since record keeping began 174 years ago. That was 1851. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. I am your brother, the Rastafari Etal Iman. Now let's take a look in this conspiracy at the Prime Minister Andrew Holness, or Holness. Not sure how to pronounce his last name. The Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who has been in office since 2016, has publicly stated that he would not object to a gay person serving in his cabinet. This stance contrasts the previous Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, who had declared that gay individuals would not be allowed in his cabinet. Holness emphasized that a person's sexuality or sexual orientation is not a criterion for political appointments within his discretion. He also noted that Jamaican society is becoming increasingly tolerant of homosexuals and that the state is committed to protecting the human rights of all citizens, regardless of sexual orientation. Thus, the inclusion vibration. So there was an intent, a hidden intent. So this concert was very symbolic, and a lot of the Rastafari, a lot of people are confused about Sizzler, who's supposed to be one of the Rastas of all Rastas, performing on a stage with a homosexual. And Antoinette Tony Akin, I could be pronouncing her name incorrect, but she calls herself Tony, symbolizing the male gender. Antoinette Tony Akins, I believe, Aikens, Akins, was on stage at the Sizzler Kalungi Rise to the Occasion. So this is the rise to the occasion. What occasion was it? As read, the occasion was inclusion. Concert on October 19, 2025, as a Jamaica Sign Language interpreter. I note the symbolism here. She is a very honored Jamaican Sign Language interpreter. So she was on stage flashing symbols, flashing signs. So this is very esoteric, and the Rastafari priests are aware of this because the Rastafari priest deals with symbolic language. So Brother Sizzler and all the other so-called Rastafari on stage should have been aware that they were sending out a symbol that it is okay to include the queer community into the Rastafari vibration. But she was there to make the event more accessible to the deaf community, as it was said. Now, nothing wrong with making the event more accessible to the deaf community. Nothing wrong with that. And I don't have anything against her being a queer. But we want you to know that the Rastafari movement is a very sacred movement. And we want you also to know that at the death of Bob Marley, the message of the Rastafari was passed on. We wrote the Holy Book of Wonder. The message is in there. So what is happening now has nothing to do with the Rastafari movement. This is a total different phase. The Rastafari movement is not evolving into an inclusion movement. That's not the case. That is just what is being presented to people that don't realize that Rastafari movement was not a stagnation. It is not dead. It is progressing on a totally different level. Okay, Atkins, Tony, Sister Tony, some people call her Brother Tony because she's confused about who she is, was a sign language interpreter at the concert, which celebrated Sizzler Kalungi's 30 years of music. As we have said, this concert was located at the concert took place at Sabina Park in Kingston, and the sign went out. 9 days later, a hurricane that had not even formed was conjured up by that vibration. And we hope that Jamaica get the message. We hope that Sizzla Kalonji and all people who are parading upon the stage of time, enjoying the Rastafari energy, know that the gods of heaven are not pleased. I am Etol Iman, and you are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming.
Rise to the occasion, look at yourself and say you're strong. No one can stop you, oh yeah.
My daughter's best friend is here. His name is Nathaniel. He is wheelchair bound. We tried our best to ensure that if you didn't want to roll in on the wheelchair, you're comfortable. Because entertainment is not limited only to able-bodied persons. I worked with the deaf community and they would tell me, oh, this is my favorite artist and that is my favorite artist. But they've never been able to gather and understand what's happening because nobody was pretty much giving them their own voice. So tonight, thankfully, when I went to the minister, I said, listen, minister, we want to do something different. Because anything we do with that, I have a different. And I said, we're going to do inclusion and we're going to show the world what inclusion looks like.
This past weekend in Jamaica, Sizzla held a concert. It was called Rise to the Occasion. On stage, there were quite a few artists, including Bounty Killer and all that, Turbulence, Sizzla himself. There was a female there, she's a lesbian, and she was the one doing the sign language. Of course, that's for people who cannot hear, people who are hearing impaired, yes. Now, this female, the fact that she's a lesbian, she's hardcore, so she looks like a man, of course, based on her appearance. But of course, she has breasts and hips and what have you. But yeah, so during Turbulence's performance, he said to her, but he didn't say her. He said the man. He's referring to her as a man and asking him, if she could do a particular song or a particular dance or, you know, whatever he was doing on stage. But the fact that he's looking at this person, not knowing that it's a woman and not a man, what does that tell you guys? Now I see why there is so much confusion. Or he is like not really in their world, so he's not studying them. He's not studying anything that they're doing in their communities. So I guess, you know, she wasn't offended. She laughed. She laughed at the whole thing while he was addressing her as a man. But I don't know, guys. I don't know. You kind of wonder if the people in the audience, if they realize that that is a woman also. But she did a good job as far as sign language. And yeah, you know, people are people. We're all human. Everybody have their life choices or make their choice in life. It means the same thing.
Thankfully, when I went to the minister, I said, listen, minister, we want to do something different. Because anything we do with that, I have a different. And I said, we're going to do inclusion and we're going to show the world what inclusion looks like. Simple, adding. So we need to be mindful of the ones. And that is what Sizzla Kalonji stands for.
Yeah, greetings and families and friends. You know, say, me just forward in the place. And me didn't want to go live on the TikToks. But the TikToks now go on nowhere. But we'll talk about Sizzla Kalonji 30th anniversary. And you know, so me forward in the place and I go up on the internet and me notice. If you notice this person in a green outfit to the side of highway and this, and them look andronic. or whatever them would call it, because I can't make out who it is. Alright now, it's the talk of the town. And the great bounty killer Rodney Price said, me can't believe my eyes, me can't believe my eyes. The great I win upon the internet with some guys. And it's not only I win alone in the families and friends, because me I tell you say, what them are doing with the Rastafari, at least them still have the red, gold and green flag. Imagine, call me mother, I cannot believe what is going on. I'm more fire. I'm back out fire. Listen, I know many of you are going to come and say that this person, this item is a sign language person that's and I'm telling you right now, Rasta is speaking out of rage because they have the two of the most iconic Rasta man pan stage. May I tell you some want to go live, but the TV not take no bribe. Me phone not even want me go live. I tried many times because me can't believe me. Yai when the pan stage with a elemental PQRSTUVWXY and Z, and he claims to be burning the fire. You are guarantee subliminal fire. Ladies and gentlemen, wanna talk to me in the comments. The whole thing mash up. What kind of setup and plan up is going on? Is Cecil Kalonji affirming his visa? Is I Wayne looking for a visa? What kind of buyout? What kind of sellout? One.
All them are off and puff, and I go on like them rough and tough. I just them heart full of muck and pus. Some I call like children slut and crow. Them worse than a mean dog. Them and them old damn team fraud.
You know, say me not here nothing.
Seem hard, me not both in no visa nor no green card. Hey, me light on the fire. Hey, next track, book.
Who that they on the Rasta man stage? Them people ya get brave. Jamaica, what is going on? Who that they on the Rasta man stage? These people are getting too brave. You hear what me I say? Me forward out of North Florida and me saw on the internet, imagine this, Rasta man I win. They on stage with a LMNOP and Sizzla Kalan is. Look at it, looks like the LMNOP looking over the social media. Some people have tried to make it sound nice. This is Sizzla Kalonji 30th anniversary. That means that you have a say who died in party. And the Rasta man is on stage performing, acting like it's on stage, playing, praying. This is not good. This is not good. Yeah, man, me lose half of the eye. And what this? And what this, families and friends, me a watch? Me I watch the Rastaman on stage with the LMNOP. They're getting brave.
Tonight, we are with someone who says more with her hands than with her actual voice. And in so doing, she's become a de facto voice for those who cannot speak. A direction she said she didn't choose and would not have chosen, but what she was made and purposed to do. This is her purpose. Sign language interpreter and entrepreneur Antoinette Tony Turp Aiken. She's my guest in the big chair tonight. Hello, friend.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You're so soft-spoken.
Can't complain.
It's so funny. You say that there are people who, up until they hear you speak, did not know that you could speak.
That's so true. I get that every day. I get that every single day. If I had $1 for every time, trust me, I'd be a billionaire already.
Tony, you are such a paradox. So that statement comes amidst a backdrop of you being so bold, so brave, so staunch in defense of the purposes that you are passionate about, but yet so meek and so soft-spoken. How do those two things coexist, and how does that work?
I think my background, how I grew up, is where my meekness comes from. Mm-hmm. My father is a Jehovah's Witness, my stepmother. My mommy, she don't really go to church, but I grew up and my father would say, humility carries you through the world. And he says life is not just about you. The world doesn't revolve around you. It revolves around the people around you and even people that you don't know. So I think I always try to remain humble because of what my father taught me. Mm-hmm. It's just...
Do you feel strange speaking now without signing?
Yes.
Would you prefer to speak and sign?
Well, no, because I don't want my English to sound off. Because sign language is different from English, so I might sound a little off. And people are like, oh, she sounds...
Really?
Yeah.
It's a nuance in that most of us didn't know.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So, as someone who is meek, but also very bold, you've been in the news recently, which is somewhere that those of us who work in this industry do not want to be. But I saw you speak out, Tony, and that's not something you typically do. You don't take to social to talk about anything, but this was so important, a cause for you, that you had to use your voice for your community. And you say who you are is because of your community.
Correct.
Tell me about that passion and where that comes from, growing up in a deaf home and always feeling from the time you knew yourself that you were the defenders of your appearance.
Correct.
As a child.
Correct. So I was born in the late 80s, grew up in the 90s. I grew up with deaf parents. So imagine growing up in a household where you're the only one who can actually sign. Yes, I'm the only one who can sign. So,
of 3 siblings?
Well, no, before my siblings were born.
Right.
So like my father's mom couldn't sign. My stepmother's parents couldn't sign. My mom's parents or siblings couldn't sign. So anything that was discussed from wee age,
Tony,
what am I say? Mm-hmm. What am I say? And then if they have something to say, I would then have to voice it back to...
It's the first language you learn.
Correct.
Really.
It's native. I'd have to voice back to my grandparents or my aunts or cousins. So for my family, I was like this little, whoa, she's smarty, because they never learned. But I had no choice because it's my parents.
Right. And your 2 brothers who came after you also learned.
Yes, they did.
To sign. Right.
The both of them can sign.
Yeah. You mentioned your stepmom. She's been in your life for the last
37 years.
Beautiful blended family, which is something we don't hear a lot about in Jamaica. There's usually some kind of... what was that like?
Well, my stepmom and my mom are very good friends. I grew up seeing my parents take trips together, going to the beach together. And I remember one day Daddy was coming to Immaculate to pick me up, and my mom was in the back and my stepmother was in the front of the car, and I was like, hey, and my friends were like, everybody in your father car? I'm like, yeah, they're my friend, man. They're friends. So I grew up in a household that even though my mom and my father split, that never stopped their friendship or their love or connection for each other, and it spilled over into love for my stepmother and love for my stepmother's kids who are my siblings. So we're like one big happy unit. Even though mommy's not here, that they communicate with each other more than they communicate with me. So that's to show you how close, you know, we are as a family.
And you were so protective of them growing up that it wasn't until you started to go outside and experience the real world that you started to say, oh my gosh, out here not nice.
No, sir.
Out here not nice.
Judgment in a yard. From the very foundation, 9 Mile Bull Bay, dread out every time. Holy Emmanuel, Jah Rastafari. Sweep the floor clean of all confusion. Behold the 7th son of Jacob, the prophet God who tried to wear the rainbow coat of Joseph, wanted to steal the ring. The chosen light of the Trinity sang of the mix-up in the mix-up.
From long time judgments in a yard.
From America true Rasta man a tribe.
He must see a judgment in a yard.
From the camp up on the hilltop, dread out every time.
This a judgment in a yard.
Oh Jah, oh Jah,
oh Jah, oh Jah.
Rastafari.
Mini bus round the hill to the rhythm of Jah music. Drums burning in the air. Standing in the shadows, bongo gay along the way. Round the hills throughout Thailand. Cotton candy, them I eat. Sugar is the treat. Hot soldier nights, voodoo in all the air. Judgments in a yard.
Strong men grabbing their crowd, shaking the weak heart. Artisans carving out the drum, smoke filled air. White women naked on the beat.
Judgments in a yard. Oh yeah, Rastafari.
Holy Emmanuel light.
Judgments in a yard.
Goes around, comes around. A man is known by his craft. He is recognized by the cap he wears. Who it fit, let him wear it. It's a judgment in a yard. Thunderclap, enter the yard. Went to the well and well was dry. You have Rasta, you have dreadlocks, and they wear the same locks now. Said the cup bearer.
Hollywood and Negro dreadlocks live for the cheap thrill. White woman swims the beach bare top. Her dreadlock swims with his buttocks out. Rastafari nowhere to be found. Where is the old man living up in the hills? Judgment in a yard.
Judgment in a yard.
George the con man, artist man's Milford Fall.
Judgment in a yard.
Statue in the park points toward sky in Tony Young's backyard.
The woman wash up, she clothes and she dreadlocks just to run around.
Smiles with the pretty girls and his woman as to where she frown. Lovely day, sun music it play. The woman she wash up, she clothes, she dreadlocks just to run around.
Birds sing in Jamaica, poet writing. Irie meditation from hammock. Maybe real Rasta woman don't wear the locks.
Under dusty Rasta feet,
China berry blossom still falling.
give beauty to this worn wicked tick stop mat. Judgment in an oh Jah
Rastafari.
oh Jah. Judgment in an
Rastafari. Judgment in a yard. Judgment in a yard. From the very foundation, 9 Mile Bull Bay, dread out every time. Holy Emmanuel, judgment in a yard. Jah Rastafari. clean of all confusion. Behold the seventh son of Jacob, the prophet God who tried to wear the rainbow coat of Joseph, wanted to steal the ring. The chosen light of the Trinity sang of the mix-up in the mix-up from long time. From America to Rastaman a trod, he must see our judgment in a yard. From the camp upon the hilltop, entering Zion gate, dread out every time. This a judgment in a yard. Oja, 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 Rastafari. Put 'em up. Yeah, yeah. Many boats round the hill to the rhythm of jam music. Drums burning in the air, standing in the shadows, bongo gay along the way, round the hills throughout island. Cotton candy them are eat, sugar is the treat. Hot sultry nights, voodoo in the air, judgment in a yard. Strong men grabbing their crouch, shaking the weak heart. Artisans carving out the drum, smoke fill their white women naked on the beach, judgment in a yard. Oja Rastafari, Holy Emmanuel, I, judgment in a yard. Goes around, comes around. Yeah. A man is known by his craft, he's recognized by the cap he wears. So it fit, let him wear it. This a judgment in a yard. Thunderclap enter the ark, went to the well and well was dry. You have Rasta, you have dreadlocks, and they wear the same locks. Man say the cup bearer, Hollywood in Negril dreadlocks, live for the cheap thrill. White woman swims the beach beer top, her dreadlocks swims with his buttocks out. Rastafari nowhere to be found. Where is the old man living up in the hills? Judgment in a yard. Yeah. Judgment in a yard. 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 George the Conman, artist man's Milford Falls. Statue in the park points towards sky. In Tony Young's backyard, the woman wash up she clothes and she dreadlocks just a run around. Smiles with the pretty girls and his woman has to wear she frown. Lovely day sun, music it play. The woman she wash up she clothes, she dreadlocks just a run around. Birds sing in Jamaica, poet writing Irie meditation. From hammock, maybe real Rasta woman don't wear the locks. Under dusty Rasta feet, China berry blossoms still falling, gives beauty to this one. We got tick stop man, judgment in a yard. Oh Jah, Rastafari, judgment in a yard. Judgment in a yard, from the very foundation. 9 Mile Bull Bay, dread out every time. Holy Emmanuel, I, Jah Rastafari. Oh, 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 oh. Sweep the floor clean of all confusion. Behold the seventh son of Jacob, the prophet God who tried to wear the rainbow coat of Joseph, wanted to steal the ring. The chosen light of the Trinity sang of the mix-up in the mix-up from long time. Judgment in a yard, from America to Rastaman a trod. He must see our judgment in a yard. From the camp upon the hilltop, entering Zion gates. This a judgment in a yard, and Bobo them a jar. Oja, 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 Rastafari. Mini boats round the hill to the rhythm of jam music. Drums burning in the air, standing in the shadows, bongo gay along the way. Round the hills throughout island, cotton candy them are eat, sugar it is the treat. Hot sultry nights, voodoo in the air. Judgment in a yard, strong men grabbing their crowd, shaking the weak heart. Artisans carving out the drum, smoke fill there. White women naked on the beach, judgment in a yard. Sizzla Kalonki, Bobo Ashanti, Oja, Rastafari, Holy Emmanuel I goes around, comes around, comes around. A man is known by his craft, he is recognized by the cap he wears. Who it fit, let him wear it, this a judgment in a yard. Thunderclap, enter the ark, went to the well and well was dry. You have Rasta, you have dreadlocks, and they wear the same locks, man. Said the cupbearer, Hollywood in Negril, dreadlocks live for the cheap thrill. White woman swims the beach bare topped, her dreadlock swims with his buttocks out. Rastafari, nowhere to be found. Where is the old man living up in the hills? Judgment in a yard. George the conman, artist man's Milford Farm. Statue in the park points towards sky, in Tony Young's backyard. The woman wash up she clothes and she dreadlocks, just a run around. Smiles with the pretty girls, and this woman has to wear she from. Lovely day, sun music it play. The woman she wash up she clothes, she dreadlocks, just a run around. Birds singing, Jamaica poet writing. Irie meditation from mama. Maybe real Rasta woman don't wear the locks on the dusty Rasta feet. China berry blossom still falling, gives beauty to this world. We got thick stop ma, judgment in a yard. Oja, Rastafari, Rastafari.